We are back with another episode of the Byron BetSperts Golf DFS show for the Players Championship in 2024. In case you didn't know what year it is, we got my main man, Ron Kloss, aka PGA Splits 101, to my left, depending how you look at the screen. But how are you doing, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, look, other than the Masters, this is probably my favorite tournament to watch. You know, golf is already the sport with the most variance, and this week, you know, the game is being played on perhaps golf's most volatile course, TPC Sawgrass. And so, yeah, I just think, you know, the penalty hazards create all the variance. And, you know, I think that's why it's one of the best viewing events because of all the unpredictability, the risk reward holes. You know, Pete Dye wants you to be uncomfortable, and, you know, it's a visually intimidating course. And, you know, look at top three courses for most penalty strokes. And the thing I love is that the 10K guys that we're going to talk about are just as likely to miss the cut as the 7,000 range, it seems. And so, you know, I was hoping for some weather chaos, but it looks like winds are going to be pretty light for all 4 days. So that's interesting to keep an eye on. But yeah, I'm excited to dig in here.
Let's dig in. But speaking of digging in, though, Ron, I mean, what digs in better than a rabbit hole?
Yeah, this is another week where, you know, you want to get really down deep, a lot of tunnels down there. You can go in, get lost. So yeah, like, you know, you want to look at high water danger. You want to look at, you know, strong field events. You want to look at some floor ceiling rates. One thing I talked about earlier is, you know, ball striking obviously is key this week. And, you know, I think one of the cool things about the floor ceiling filter we have is you can go and look at just ball striking, on courses that have high water danger. And so, you know, the ability to get really specific with some of these conditions is a really neat thing. And so, yeah, there's tons of things you can get on there. Again, we still got, you know, a deal with Vivid Picks. You know, I think it's only 28 states get that. But yeah, if you want to send me a message or go on betspurtsgolf.com and we'll hook you up. $5 only still. We have promo codes if you're not in a state that allows Vivid Picks. But yeah, a lot of great deals. The rabbit hole, I think, is kind of revolutionizing, you know, a lot of the way people research, and especially a course like Sawgrass, really helpful.
Very much so. But the fun thing about Sawgrass is it's not necessarily a course history kind of venue. The predictability isn't. It's about middle of the pack when it comes to all the courses on tour. But there's definitely like a course fit element of this, right, Ron? Like there's specific kind of golfers, specific kind of trends and traits that kind of lead into golfers that have had success at Sawgrass. So we'll kind of do our best to identify those. For me, I think you've heard it pretty much across the industry as you've been listening to as a fly flies into my eye. But we got recent form being essential this week. I think that has to be a big part of it. If you're looking for the winner, I think there are also guys that have obviously not played fantastic golf that kind of tend to play good golf here too. I've got a $5,000 golfer that I'm going to be rostering this week in my 150 lineup. So we'll see how that goes for us. But let's dive into it, Ron. We were chatting before the show went live about what we're going to do at the top of the board, and Scotty Scheffler at $12,000, 800 is going to be an interesting situation for me. As I've always mentioned on this show, I cannot get Scotty Scheffler right in the sense that I will roster him majorly and play him in like 75% of my lineups. But my Cut Sweats report told me that he was the second most costly golfer I rostered in 2023. And if you take a look at what Scotty Scheffler got up to last year, how is that even possible? And to me, the only thing that makes sense is either I'm terrible at DFS or it's just difficult to kind of get good lineups together with Scotty Scheffler in them because he's amazing, but his price tag and points per dollar are really high, you know, considering what he's priced at. And 12-8 after one win, to me, just seems, woo, you know, that's really steep. And I'm looking at 31, potentially 35%. You know, I think in the 150 maxes, I would not be surprised to see people go heavier on Scotty because they can roster more golfers around him versus I think, you know, do you think his ownership will be a bit less than 30% maybe in the single entries?
Yeah, and just really quick, like another thing to think about related to Scheffler is, you know, the volatility of this event as historically good as he is, it almost forces you to think twice about, Scheffler. And, you want to go back and look just examples, so Scheffler, he won last year, but before that he was 55th and then missed the cut.
Yeah.
Rory, he won here in 2019. He missed the cut in 2 of his last 3 starts here. And then you look at the 5th and 6th ranked players in the world, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele. They've missed a combined 6 cuts here in their last 8 trips to TPC Sawgrass. So, I think this is one of the weeks, just speaking from a broader perspective here, that, I'm definitely widening out my player pool. So if I'm playing 150 lineups, I usually have a pretty tight pool around 35, 40 golfers. But this week, it's probably going to be closer to, in that 50 range, maybe close to 60, because as much as I want to go all in on Scheffler, as much as last week, maybe it's recency bias, but again, we all know this, when his putter is even just average, like, he's going to win. And so that being said, probably not the week to go all in on one player. And so for me, the question is, how many Scheffler lineups are reasonable? And so, with him coming in around 30% right now, my plan is probably to play him somewhere maybe around 40 to 50%. And I know you're going to be completely opposite of this, but, look, nobody's gone back to back here, but Scotty is just so historically elite. And if you look at when he won last year, he gained 0.1 strokes putting. So he doesn't even need to be good. He just needs to be average. Even probably could have been below average last year and won, because he won by 5 strokes. Yeah. So it's a conundrum, but I think for me, I think I'm going to be heavier. Whatever that final number that ownership comes in, I'm going to try to be heavier on.
Okay. No, I feel you. I was building some lineups. If you build Scotty Scheffler, click his name first. I think you got like 74-40 to leave on the table for the next 5 guys. If you click Wyndham Clark, Max Homer, and Shane Lowry, I think you got $7,200 left for the next 3. So you've already put 2 really good 9K guys in spot number 2 and 3, and you've got just a few $100 less than what you would have for 5 other golfers when you got a Scotty Scheffler lineup. So to me, that was kind of just how I justified that too. And 35% ownership. Geez, Ron, this course is a unpredictable beast. It's a mistress with a whip that cracks hard. And if you haven't treated her well, she will kick you out the house without your clothes. And it's not a good course to go on. Like I think I always say, pivot your face off. But Scotty's playing so well, it's hard to do that. But I think I'm just I bet him top 10. I'll take that. Like if he finishes 9th, I think that's a win-win, because a 9th place finish, I don't think is even going to justify playing Scotty this week.
But see, here's the problem this week, and I'll be interested to hear what you're going to say is, so if you're not playing any Scotty, like so you say pivot, so it's like, so for me, like Rory right now, he, it's been out there that he's missing on approach left, everything's left, so yeah. He doesn't fit the course anyways, he cannot use his power, his length off the tee here, and so you go down to Xander, he's even admitted in his press conference that, he struggles here. And so, I know you may have some thoughts on Justin Thomas like I do, but yeah, so are you starting, like, who are you starting with if you're not going Scotty?
The majority of my lineups are going to start in the 9K range with Max and Wyndham. I'm going to just kind of go straight to them and go heavily balanced and try and just jam 5, 9 to 8K guys in there with a 6K, 5K golfer and just see how that goes. Taking one shot on a 5K, 6K, which you would have had to do with Scotty anyway, and then hope that those 5 studs or at least really good golfers can kind of pull together for me and just kind of hopefully I can find the right combination of the likes, So I'll get to those guys that I'm kind of leaning into. I'm seeing Patrick Cantlay under 10%. He's just like, to me, that's a situation that I'm cool with. I'll go to him as well, but I'm not going to only have to play him in like 15% of your lineups to get 2x the field almost. So I'll do that in the 10Ks, maybe a bit of Xander as well, and then kind of just lean heavily on Wyndham and Max in the 9s there. So that's pretty much giving away my whole strategy of the first few ranges here. But, we don't have to typically do the show how we normally do, but you can chat to me about other golfers you're in the mood for if you want to chat about JT and the likes.
Yeah, and we both talked about this. Like, I have JT at 12% right now. I know you said around 15, and so there's maybe a decent chance he gets higher than that. But I mean, for me, one of the things when you have volatility, okay, so what's the opposite of that? It's consistency. And so that's one thing I'm trying to key on here, and maybe other people will do that too, and maybe that's the reason JT's ownership will start to climb here. But best course history here, and again, I know that doesn't mean as much here because of the unpredictability. But he's never missed a cut in 8 trips, and I think the old JT is back. He's been top 12 in 5 of his last 6, and really, after Scheffler, I trust his ball striking more than anybody else in this upper tier. And so, with all the water, with all the trouble, you have all these, elongated waist bunkers. You have, the rough 3.5 inches. Last year was the first year they bumped it up an entire inch, and reports now, even this week so far, about how thick it is. And so ball striking is going to be so huge, and so I think JT is probably my second favorite up here. I think Victor at 10-1 is a fair price considering his form has not been well, but again, he's a guy who I'll just kind of lean on that ball striking, and I know the around the green play is something he is kind of made strides and now is very inconsistent again. And so what to make of that? But I would say JT is 2, and then Victor would be my third favorite up here.
I was hoping and anticipating Victor being the least owned of them all in this range, but maybe the 10K, I mean, maybe if you switched him with JT's price, maybe that would have leaned him there. But I think $10,100 for a guy that's arguably got one of the best course histories yet too is going to be what people go to. So, I'll leave him alone as well. I think just a little reasoning why I'm going to Cantley as well. His metrics don't look very good. He played well at the Genesis, which to me is a bit more of a less brutal, like brutish golf course. He hasn't played well at Bay Hill. He doesn't play well at the Farmers. These courses that have these narrow fairways with thick rough just don't seem to treat him well. I think he's a plodder, despite being a really good driver of the golf ball, which has dropped off a little bit this year, but because he's played these courses. So we'll see what he can do, but he's played well at Harbour Town, Ron. If you want to kind of comp it a little bit, Harbour Town's not a terrible situation there for Cantley. And I think, he grades out really nicely from a comp course perspective for me. So I'm going to
PGA West too.
PGA West, there's a lot of nuances about those kind of courses that lean into Sawgrass, with the Florida type kind of just differentiating it there a bit. But I'm cool with that. I'll play him a bit, maybe a bit of Xander, because both of those guys they've been incredibly consistent for the most part. Xander in particular, just are never going to find me betting them outright. They're the only 2 golfers that are going to have to win twice to make your money back on them if you've bet them every single tournament. Scotty was there until he won last week. Like, everyone's saying Scotty's this world beater on. The last time he won a tournament before last week was this tournament. I guess the Euro, but like whatever, 16 guys, so whew. What do you got to say?
I mean, no, I mean, you make good points. And again, I think it's been overstated probably about his putting. But again, I mean, when has he had a bad week tee to green? Like, has he had one in the last 2 years? I mean, I haven't, I know just what I've seen. I don't remember one, So I don't know. It's just, I mean, you do save a lot if you do come down from Scotty because of the high price.
Yeah.
So, it'll be really
windy. So It's going to be birdie fest out there. Like, if that putter doesn't show up, he's going to have to really, I mean, what do you think the winning score is this week? Does that change your opinion? If I said 22 under par wins this thing, does that change your opinion on Scotty?
Probably a little bit. And we saw last week, he thrives in the tougher conditions because, when everybody else, is messing up tee to green, his ability to separate in those areas or, get exponentially even stronger at a place like Bay Hill. So yeah, I think that would. And yeah, I think the more I look at Cantlay, I know I think his comp courses, in my model, I run one of my models is for comp courses. And like you said, at Harbor Town, Jay West, he's first out of everyone in this field on similar courses. And so, I think that's something I probably need to take into account a little bit more this week. But yeah, it's hard up top, and probably not completely fading any of these guys. Like, I think what I like to do, and I've said this many times, is when you have stacked fields up top like this, especially as volatile it is I'm going to spread it around up here, except for Scotty, probably maybe a little more on Scotty. And then there's some guys down low I like that I'm gonna kind of build a core and kind of just kind of spread it around up here as best I can, and let the chips fall where they may.
Cool. Yeah, you got to take a stand somewhere, right? And I think where you do that is up to your discretion. It's just you got to, I think you got to get overweight somewhere in order to kind of have success this week in a volatile. And you're either going to blow up if your guy misses, or if he makes it through, you're looking pretty. And I think that's kind of what you're looking to do here. I think you have to make sure that when you have these guys get through, you got tons and tons of 6-for-6s that have made it through because you went aggressive. So let's dive into the nines. Will Zalatoris is looking like one of the second most popular golfer in the field, outside of a few 6K, 7K options down there that are also pushing like 15%. But Willie Z sitting around $9,900, pushing 20% ownership, maybe in the 15 to 20% range there for sure. Coming off, he's the opposite of Cantlay to me, Ron. So I'm going to just use that same theory and fade Willie Z, because he's come from the Farmers, the Genesis, Bay Hill, 3 courses that are just brutish venues that require impeccable ball striking that Will Zalatoris does, and the kind of ball striking that, long irons out of the rough. That's not going to be the situation yet. Like when you're in the rough this week, you got a pine tree in your way, or pine needles, or a mogul. It's not the rough that's necessarily that penal compared to Bay Hill. I know you mentioned that it's an inch longer now, but it's not like a distinguishing thickness that really prohibits your ball from advancing as far as you would like. You're just not going to hit it close. So I'm going to kind of leave him alone and go to 2 guys that are kind of also peeking under the radar, not so much Wyndham Clark, but more so Max Homa, where I've been waiting for Max Homa's putter to really start showing up. The last 7 rounds of golf, Ron, hasn't lost strokes putting. He gained 7 rounds of golf. He gained 10 strokes putting. So that's looking good. He's been playing nicely. The ball striking is ass. But guess what? At this golf course, his ball striking has been impeccable around TPC Sawgrass. For some weird reason, I don't think he's lost strokes in the last 8 rounds around off the tee at Sawgrass. So like the driver or whatever he's hitting off the tees is looking good. I'll take that. Same thing with Wyndham Clark. He gained like 4.8 strokes off the tee the last time he played here. Everyone's going to probably be thinking, okay, look, he can't do anything with his inaccuracy off the tee. He's only going to hit those drivers on the par 5s, and he dominates par 5s anyway. So we'll see what that happens. And if he's looking like Wyndham Clark's going to be 10% after finishing second at Bay Hill, I just got done watching Full Swing. And when his confidence is high, he makes putts. That's what he says. And that's what his sports psychologist says too. So I'm going to believe both of them. And his confidence could not be higher after basically losing to the best golfer of our era, call it the last 10 years, last week, right, at a big boy contest. So we got the players. Like Wyndham Clark's got the US Open, Wells Fargo, Pebble Beach signature event. I mean, next up is the players, baby. Give it to me. Let's go. So I'm going to be 25, 35% easy with these guys. Max and Wyndham will be stacked in a lot of my lineups. I love the flexibility they give me. So I've spoken a lot about them, but those are my 2 favorite options. I'm going to be leaning into them heavily, sprinkling in a bit of Aberg, Shane Lowry, Jason Day situation there.
I think it's really interesting how these first 3 players in the 9K, Zalatoris, Matsuyama, Clark, like those 3 guys are in really good form right now. And, you see this price increase. And as much as you think like Zal, he fits this course, I kind of agree with you on, this may be the week where, he's played a bunch of weeks in a row here, tough courses. I think, again, don't have anything, research based on this, but I just think this is a week maybe he takes a little step back. Don't think he's quite up to that price. Hideki is one, probably out of these three, probably still my favorite one. I think the best time to play Hideki is when his form is sharp and every part of his game is clicking at the moment. 2 top 10s in his last 3 here at Sawgrass. So he's played this course a bunch. He has the experience. So yeah, he's my favorite. I would say Max Homa, I think, he's one of 4 players here with top 25s in the last 2 years, 6th last year, 13th in 2022, and people are acting like, he hasn't been playing up to his level of last year, but still he's got 4 top 16s this year, and last week, 8th at Bay Hill. So I think he showed last week the life that we were looking for. And yeah, I do think, I'm seeing him right around 10, 12% in that range. And so I think Max, this is definitely a week where he can kind of rise to the occasion. And so I agree with you on him there. Probably my other guy, and there's some really interesting names down here. It's like, how do you not play Shane Lowry at 9-1? He's in such great form. You got Morikawa down there, still as bad as he's been this year, missing the cut last week in an event where hardly anyone missed the cut. Again, the ball striking, like, what do you do with that? But for me, like my other guy, and I know he might be a little more popular than I would like, but Sam Burns, 4 top 10s in his last 6. I think his all-around game is really intriguing here. And so he would be my other guy down here, kind of on the bottom. I don't think, Cam Young, again, when you talk course fits, when we talk, confidence levels, he's one of those guys I just can't trust completely at a course like this.
I saw he had 2 or 3 top 20s entering last week, had 2 or 3 top 20s at Bay Hill in the past. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just bet him at minus 120 for a top 20 last week. Nope, not happening. Don't feel like putting. Just feel like losing 5 strokes putting that week. So that's Cam Young for you. Just he always burns you no matter how you kind of touch him. But yeah. Also, you were mentioning everything's clicking with Hideki, Ron. What's also clicking with Hideki? He's back. Guys walking around there with a numb leg, in round 1. I think every tournament we get closer to Augusta, the likelihood of a WD from Hideki gets higher and higher.
But do you believe him though? I think he almost plays his best when he's got some kind of injury or something. He's had this for a while.
I don't know. I'm just scared because didn't he WD from the players 2 years ago when he was really having some health issues because he said it's too close to Augusta. I need to make sure I rest. Also, like you just said, what is he even saying? I've never heard anything that I understand come out of Hideki Matsuyama's mouth. It's always been lost in translation through the translator. And maybe that guy's in the highest paid position in sports, just completely lying to us in English version of Hideki stories. So who the heck even knows? That's my tinfoil conspiracy hat for you guys today. But yeah, when I'm playing Shane Lowry, he's playing good golf. Who the hell knows what he's going to get up to this week because it is what it is. But I've bet him top 20 and I'll be playing him at $9,100. Some other names in the 8K range, it's a fun one too. Names that have been playing good golf, Ron. You know what I'm saying here? If you go balanced, you can find some thoroughbreds in the stable. So I'll let you go ahead first. Hit me with some names and we'll see if we overlap at all.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm skipping all the way down to 8-6 Russell Henley. And when you start at Henley at 8-6 and you go all the way down to 8K flat, this is probably my favorite range on the entire slate, and a group of players I'm going to load up on here. I think we have some ownership leverage options here as well. But yeah, so Henley, back-to-back top 20s here. He's in great form with 2 top 4 finishes this year already. I put together a winner trends piece for the players, and again, take it with a grain of salt. Again, I know some of these are, some of them are formulated, some of them are course history related, but still, he was one of only 2 players to fit all 10 of those trends. Excellent tee to green, fairway finder. I think for me, his ability to scramble and his elite iron play inside of 150 yards, and this is the toughest course on tour to gain strokes on approach from inside of 150, because you have these really tricky pin positions. You have these quadrants on the green where you have to hit the right spot if you want to give yourself a good birdie look. And I think Henley's ability to hit those spots and his accuracy is just really intriguing to me. Probably my favorite play on the entire board. I got an outright on him early at 75 to 1. I think he's down to 45 right now. So really love him. I think Tony Finau, now listen here. Third best player in the entire field, tee to green over the last 6 months. Okay, so again, that tee to green accuracy to me, the tee to green consistency is almost like a safety net for him to at least make the cut. And look, he's gained putting here 4 of his last 5 trips. I don't know what you're seeing. I'm seeing kind of 10% range ownership. Yeah. So, do I think he's going to win? No. But I just think his tee to green consistency at a course like this is enough.
$8,500.
It's enough for me to go overweight on him. And again, you never know with the putter. Again, we've talked about this before. Certain guys like him, they may be bad for 7 weeks in a row, but if you just get that 1 week where they can spike, so he's a guy. And yeah, just really quick, Sung Jae showed signs of life last week as well, finishing 18th. He gained 2 strokes on approach again. He's always solid off the tee. You want to look at Florida courses, comp courses. He's top 3 in those. He's 8th in the entire field in bogey avoidance on difficult courses. And so, I think he's a pretty good value sitting there at 8-4 as well. I think Corey Connors, people sleep on him still. Same thing with Finau almost. His ball striking in this field is really intriguing to me. He kind of another guy who kind of limits his mistakes on difficult courses, which is why we always see him contending at the Masters and other tough courses. You saw it again last week. And just rounding out this, again, this range is just loaded because, you want to go to 8-1. Benny On, he's gained the 3rd most strokes in signature events this year. So he's proving that he can play in these big boy events. He's got 3 top 8s already this year. And, when you look at his tournament log, he's gaining with every single club in the bag. And I think he's a real dark horse to win this week. And so, and then I haven't even talked about these 2 guys below. I'm sure you're going to get to your boy Min Woo here, but Siwoo, Min Woo, it's just Siwoo is a perfect skill set for this course. We've already seen him obviously win here back in 2017. He's only missed, we kind of think of Siwoo as this volatile player who, he's going to eject, and that does happen occasionally, but he's only missed 1 cut in the last 7 months. So I think people are really underrating how consistent he is. And then, of course, Min Woo, what can you say about him? He's runner-up at PGA National. We've talked about him on here many times. It's just his irons have been so horrible. Well, guess what? He's gained 8.7 strokes on approach his last 2 starts. And so, we saw him finish 6th there last year. So, yeah, this range is loaded. And this is kind of one of the things for me where if I'm starting with Scheffler, I'm taking at least 1, maybe 2, probably 2 guys from this range next. And so I'll be loading up for sure.
Cool. I'll give you some pushback on Siwoo just because I understand he's $8,000, but there's just not, to me, even with the course history that he has here on, he's top 40ing at a 63% clip, but he's top 10ing at an 8% clip. He's so safe. To me, if you're going to be betting a Siwoo in a DFS 150 max field, I want to know that I'm going to be getting a guy that can at least pop into the top 5, top 10, quite often-ish when he's going to be 15% owned. I understand he's cheap, but to me, I just think I'm going to leave him alone this week. I don't know. I can't deal with him at that ownership. I'll go to Benny On, who has, double the amount of top 5s than Siwoo has top 10s, so that to me is like a situation I'd rather go to there. I'm fully agreeing with you on Tony Finau. At this price, at that ownership, sign me up. We're going to him. My only concern with Finau is the fact that it's a big boy field. He's just historically dominated these crappy fields, but maybe after sucking it up in Mexico, he's got a lawsuit to potentially settle, so maybe he could do with $4.5 million in his bank account. So let's see what Tony Finau gets up to this week. Russell Henley, Ron, peculiar situation. I don't think I've seen anything like this. I've got a weighted good shot percentage and a weighted poor shot avoidance. Russell Henley from a poor shot rate, 2nd in the field. So only Scotty Scheffler loses half a stroke less often than Russell Henley. Then you go to good shot percentage. So gaining half a stroke on a single approach shot, 99th in the field. So it's just this like crazy situation where he refuses to like really knock it close. And have you seen what his ball striking numbers have done lately? Russell Henley isn't that guy anymore. He's a Brendan Todd, like a better version of Brendan Todd, in my opinion. The ball striking has gone to like mediocrity, yet he is chipping and putting his way to top fives and top sixes. I don't understand what's going on with him. He's like morphed. So I bet him top 20, and that's going to be it for me. I can't trust him that much in a DFS contest when the reliable ball striking has disappeared and it's all short game.
I'll push back on that. If you look at his events, okay, so the one thing I'll give you is he's not gaining ball striking in as large of an average as he was, going back last year even. But I think he's still consistent enough for me. Even if you look, he's had a couple bad events like the Century. He was horrible. He lost 6 strokes ball striking there. I think that's kind of weighing it down a little bit. So, yeah, I get what you're saying though. But for me, I think he easily could have been higher priced than 8,600. And he's just a guy I really love this week.
Yeah, I'm just like flabbergasted at what his profile's done. It's just completely flipped itself upside down. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So fun stuff. This is when the nerdy stuff comes out like this. I get excited. So excuse me there for a second. Jumping into the sevens, Brian, Chalk Squad, Harmon, projected 11% right now. I don't believe that. I would imagine him and Tom Hoagie will. Scotty Scheffler, Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie. Click, click, click. First 3 clicks of most people's lineups. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing Harmon at 9% right now. So, but I do agree with you.
I don't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's proved time and time again that he can play with the best in the world, as evidenced by his major last year. He's got 3 top 10s here. I think for me, like the positional nature of this course fits his game. His short game is always so solid. And so if he throws in approach play, he's 12th at API, gained 5 on approach. So yeah, I do agree with you that he is going to jump up.
Yeah. And you know what? I say that I'm probably still going to play him because I've done a pretty decent job so far of avoiding the chalky guys up top here. So if I'm going to play chalk at $7,900, I feel like Brian Harmon could easily, if he was priced at $8,800 there by Jason Day and Tommy Fleetwood, would you have batted an eye?
Probably not, because especially with what Fleetwood did last week, and Day is just kind of middling around. So no, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, Cam Young, I think you could fit right into the underneath of that 9K range. So I'm going to be playing him. I have him as an outright as well, as do like half of Twitter. I think that bets tipping chart is like literally a third of it was just Brian Harmon, because I think he came out at 70, 80s to 1, and everyone jumped on him there. Tom Hoagie.
Oh, I got him at 150 to 1. He was 150 on FanDuel on I think it was Saturday of last week. And so and then he just when he started climbing up the leaderboard at Bay Hill, that's when he started dropping. So I couldn't believe he was 150.
That was a delightful find there, Ron. I'm jealous, but 75. I think there's 60s out there. I would still even bet a 60 for him right now. The iron play he showed, and if you take a page out of Arsene Eckrode's book, the guy had his best iron play week of his career, apparently, at Mexico. Went and doubled down on that and had it again at the Cognizant and won. Like Brian Harmon, 23 rounds at TPC Sawgrass. He's only lost off the tee 4 times. Like, to me, that's box, probably the biggest box to check, is making sure that you are putting yourself in good positions to hit these greens. So I feel like with that kind of off the tee play, it's a safe, touch wood, it's a safe play, because it's one of the biggest variables at this golf course is drivers into the crap. And he seems to do a great job of avoiding that. He's very accurate off the tee. Cool bananas there. Tom Hoagie, I bet him top 20, and that's it. Dusting my hands and leaving him alone. He has the potential to really blow up, despite being the best iron player in the world currently. If he's beating Scotty Scheffler on approach, he's the best in the world, in my opinion. in 2024 at least. So he is, and that's a fact. I bet him 100-1, so be it. But at $7,800, I don't know if I can take a Tom Hoagie that's going to be pushing 20%. You know, the short game can easily eject him out of this tournament quite quickly. And, you know, if he finishes top 20, then so be it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So Hoagie, I agree that he's going to be very popular. Like I'm seeing him everywhere listed. So what I'll probably do in cases like this, where you still have him at a pretty good value. And again, I do agree that he is perfect for this course. You know, he showed that when he set the course record here Saturday last year. So yeah, I'll probably be somewhere around 10%. So I'll be way underweight, but I just to get him in a few lineups, kind of mixing and matching him with some of my other core plays. I think that's another strategy that you could take where you can, you know, maybe chop down ownership in half. But yeah, like if we're talking upper 7Ks, there's not a lot that I like up here. You know, again, you see names like Adam Scott, and, you know, he kind of flailed around last week, and just, I don't think a guy like him has the upside that I'm looking for. So for me, like Eric Cole is really interesting because I'm seeing 4 or 5% here. People I think are kind of forgetting about him a little bit. But yeah, he rebounded, you know, missed the cut at the Cognizant, and, you know, basically that followed his first week off this year. And so I think he's a guy like Sungjae, like he just needs to play every week. He needs to play. And so, yeah, finished 27th here in his debut at Sawgrass last year. You know, we talk about his off the tee game, which struggles on longer courses where you have to hit more driver. Well, guess what? This is one of the biggest less than driver courses on tour. I think it's only 56% of the time you're hitting driver. And so, you know, I think the shorter course is going to work in his favor. You know, we talk about his iron play from inside of 150. We talk about his putting skill around the green. So I think he's a guy that I'm definitely going to be overweight on. And, you know, Chris Kirk is interesting, but he's a guy when you look, like, I'm not even going to, like, Harris English, like, just go right past him with his 6 missed cuts here. But yeah, Kirk has also struggled here. And so he was intriguing to me at first, but when you dig deeper, it's, you know, I don't think I'm going to get there, but like, I'll just take the bottom range here because there's really only 2 guys I even like here. You know, I know, a lot of people will be playing different guys here and there, but for me, I'm going all the way to Cam Davis and Justin Rose, both at 7K flat. And, you know, Cam Davis, 34th in my model. You know, these are the courses he actually plays better at. I think his ability to hit iron off these tees kind of mitigates his wildness at times. And so I think, you know, he played here really well last year. I just really like him coming into this week. And Justin Rose is more like an experience play. Like, I'm going to lean on a guy who's, you know, has had kind of an erratic course history here. But, you know, again, 6th there last year. And I know you have your qualms with this man. But I just think when you can, like we say all the time, you can find something to lean on here. And his experience, his iron play, his ability to get really hot with the putter, you know, that's enough for me. Even if he finishes top 30, I'll take a top 30 here. Yeah,
he's 7K, 3%. That's fine. You know, I think I've been burnt when Justin Rose was 15% at the US Open, and I went with him in 50, 60% of my lineups. You know, that's the reason I have gripes with the man, despite being blocked on Twitter by him as well. So I don't mind Jake Knapp. I think people think, okay, we've left Bay Hill, played badly at Bay Hill, hit multiple. I mean, when you're hitting your 7th ball off the tee on a par 5, your ball striking numbers aren't going to come across that great the next week. So I don't mind him on courses like this. He's basically a Wyndham Clark light type situation. Very good iron player. Very good. Played nicely at the Cognizant. You know, like, that's all I need to see is if you've played well at that course, especially for these guys that haven't been in these designated events. If you played nicely there, I'm going to play you again this week because to me, it's basically the same place. I think the Cognizant's probably harder than Sawgrass, right? Like, typically, but we saw a bit of a softer one there. Steven Yeager, $7,200, one of the better drivers in this range. I think he can dismantle these short courses. He led the field in strokes gained off the tee at the Cognizant, despite, you know, it being a plotter's course. He can handle these courses quite nicely, and he's $7,200, quite safe, you know, making cuts at a 92% clip. Obviously, the time I go all in on him with my 149 lineups that I forgot to change at the Cognizant. He misses the cut for the first time in a while, but we'll take that with a grain of salt moving on from him. I like him a lot. Emiliano Grillo is another guy I like. That mid-range, 150 to 200, he's exceptionally good from that range at times when he's feeling it. And Chris Kirkron hasn't played well yet, but his ball striking has been pretty darn consistent this year. And I feel like he suits, if he plays well at PGA National, why haven't you played well here? So I'll take a gamble on him, especially, like I guess 6% it's whatever. I'll rock him with Eric Cole there as well. So those are my guys. Cam Davis, Ron, 50% of his starts in the last 24 events have been top 20s. That's insane, but he just doesn't like to get inside the top 8 for some reason. For someone with that crazy kind of consistency inside the top 20, he's only finished inside the top 5 like 8% of the time. Anyway, let's get into the 6K landmine range here. We have got some names with some course history, with some recent form that are going to be make or break situations. Are they free squares or are they squares of despairs? That's the situation we're kind of trying to figure out here. Let's talk about Doug Gim and Mathieu Pavon. I feel like they are two.
So let me interrupt you here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start our draft here, right? So
okay.
You ready to go? So I'll let you go first. So we're gonna each take 4 players. We're gonna alternate, and
okay.
So basically our 4 favorite guys is. And if you want to go more, you can go more. But I don't have a ton down here. But let's see where this takes us.
Let's see where we go. Maybe we get 6 guys. Maybe we get 4. Let's go with Mathieu Pavon at $6,700. I'm gonna have him in a third of my lineups. I'm treating him almost like Minwoo last week, but with a better outlook. I think he's mispriced, legit mispriced.
Yeah, I mean his form has been spectacular. When you look at, I can't remember what it was exactly, but I was looking at strokes gained total in the 4 months leading up to the Players, and every single winner the last 5 years has gained at least 1.5 strokes per round. And he is one of only 3 players who's gained, I think he's gained 1.52. And so just amazing form he's in. And so, yeah, I do love him too. For me, I'll start here with Nick Taylor. I know he has not been great at Sawgrass, and he's 6,900. But yeah, for a guy who's, 25th in the world, this price is just too much value here. He kind of came out of nowhere, finished, I think he was 12th last week at Bay Hill. He's in kind of the upper half, every key stat that I'm looking at for this week. And so, I think this is a great value price for him at $6,900.
I've got an outright on Nick Taylor. I'll be making some fun graphics. I had 10 outrights this week. My hands are broken, Ron. I had to type up an article of 10 outright write-ups. It's been a nightmare. I'll go with Aaron Rai at $6,400. I like his course history.
What's your ownership? What are you seeing him as?
8%.
Okay.
Which is a bit steep, but if we're doing a draft just versus you and me, so be it. I need to beat you first, right? Before the rest of the gang. So I'll take Aaron Rai. I like his safety. The fact that he's going to ball strike this place to sleep. Whatever happens with the short game happens with the short game.
I will go. I think someone you were about to say, but Doug Gim is playing the best golf of his career right now. And so if you look at his last 4 starts, 13th, 12th, 8th, 16th, and he's played well here too. And so, again, he's another guy where, you get into this range, you want to lean on that ball striking and, just kind of hope maybe this is the week he kind of has a spike playing around.
Yeah. I bet him at 333 for a top 20. I'm leaving him alone in DFS. He's going to break hearts or he's going to finish inside the top 20 and catch me that bet. So I think that's the kind of way I'm dealing with him this week. When Mathieu Pavon is half the ownership of Doug Gim, what are we doing? What are we doing? I hope that comes through because I will be very happy about that. Some other names. This is going to be fun. I changed my color coding here last little bit. Let's go with, I'm going to go with a curveball here, Ron. CT Pan, $5,600 as my third guy. He kind of fell down the leaderboard at the Cognizant over the final round. Been playing good golf though. I think he even made the likes of Adam Scott and other people weren't even making the cut around Bay Hill. if you're telling me CT Pan's going to make the cut in a designated event like that at Bay Hill, like CT Pan, that doesn't suit his game at all. Like this golf course, like the Cognizant, is where he can thrive. So $5,600, I'll go with CT Pan, see what he can do. Got a casual third, a 28th, and a 51st in the last 3 starts at $5,600. I feel like he can do some damage around here. Had a 46th and a 72nd before COVID.
Yeah, it's amazing form right now for CT.
Yeah.
My favorite play down here, and a guy that I've been on a bunch this year, kind of waiting for him to turn the corner. He did it a little bit at the Cognizant, which again is a similar course. 6,200, Ryan Fox. Okay, a guy who has multiple victories on the DP World Tour. And kind of the thing for him is a lot of these courses he's seeing for the first time. And so you can kind of anticipate some of these struggles. But guess what? He played here last year. He finished 27th, so he has a little bit of experience. He gained, basically his ball striking, especially in approach, has kind of struggled over his last, extended time. But when you look at PGA National, he gained 4.1 on approach. And so I think he's another guy who can lean on some experience, has played plenty of difficult courses in his career so far, has played in multiple majors. And so I just think getting someone at 6,200 down here with the experience and the skill that he has and that he's seen the course and that he had success last year, I think that's, 1-2% ownership I'm seeing right now. I will be, I don't know the number, 10, 12%, but I'll have a good deal of Ryan Fox.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, he's not playing good golf. I don't know if a lot of people have realized he played nicely last year. I was scrolling through matchups, Ron, and I saw a Thomas Dietrich matchup, and his opponent had a plus 100 next to his name. It's Ryan Fox. Then I was like, oh, smash play. And then I went and took a quick peek before I hit the button, and geez, he's been playing bad. So I think from a DFS play, I'm fine with that. I really wanted to bet against Thomas Dietrich because I feel like this golf course is going to eat him up again. I mean, he melted down so hard at the Cognizant. So I'm really just laughing here a lot, thinking about what Dietrich's going to get up to. Just such a handsome guy that just can't seem to get it together right now. So I hope he does at some point, but I might just sprinkle a little bit. What do you think? Do you think Fox beats Dietrich at plus money, plus 100?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm jumping on that. Thanks for pointing that out. No, I obviously like Fox more than you do. I think, yes, his overall form has been poor, but again, 35th a couple weeks ago. So yeah. I think he's headed in the right direction.
Yeah. And with matchups, this could be literally who finishes DFL at some point. It's Dietrich's going to be in the lead, but you can still win it with your guy missing the cut in epic fashion. So I might just, maybe go with that because I had a gut feel and I think he gave me enough love. Billy Horschel, $6,600. Give it to me. Finished nicely at the Wyndham to end the year on the PGA Tour. Went over to Europe, played some good golf there. Came back, finished top 20 at the Sony. Then finished 8th or 9th, I think, or call it a top 10 at the Cognizant. I thought he was playing some really good golf there. Had you given him maybe another round, he would have been, flirting with the lead there. I feel like with that kind of an overlap on that kind of course, at this kind of price, at this kind of ownership, I guess he's 7%. But you know what? I'll take it. At $6,600, we still got a whole bunch of 5K guys that you could still play. So give me Billy Horschel. I don't mind that price at all. I feel like he's due.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys in this range that I'm going to be playing somewhere around 5, 6, 7%. I mean, you could talk about Lucas Glover at 63. You've got Adam Svensson, multiple-time tour winner at 61. Ben Griffin at 6K flat. Taylor Moore, he loves these short courses. He's at 5,900. I even think Seamus Power, if you look at his last 2 starts, 21st and 31st. And so, he's a guy who maybe kind of on the rebound here. For
and
me,
these kind
though,
of courses, Ron, for Seamus is like these short positional tracks is exactly where you want to play him.
And with water danger, he seems to have above his baseline. For me, though, my last play here is going to be Sam Ryder, 5,600. He 21st at PGA National a couple weeks ago, very accurate. Whether it's his driver, his irons, exceptional approach play. So yeah, he's made the cut here the last 2 years. So he's a guy who I think can give you a little bit of consistency, hopefully, kind of at the bottom of your lineup.
I had a top 20 on Sam Ryder at the Cognizant, Ron, at plus 500. water ball on
21st.
18 on the final,
Yep.
21st.
Yep.
So if you're taking that kind of crossover with the Cognizant, he's also, I think, had 3 consecutive top 10s at the Cognizant, and then the 21st when I bet him for a top 20. So brutal stuff there, but I love that he likes these kind of courses too. He is a Florida guy, isn't he? I think like it was his home track was the Cognizant or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, I know he's from Florida at least because I think I was looking at his Instagram and he was saying something about that. So, Ron, let's do one more guy. It has to be from the 5s. And I'll get to go first, or do you want to pick?
No, you go first. Go first.
Ben Silverman, $5,500. If you take a look at strokes gained total over this season, he's 54th and he's $5,500. Corn Ferry Tour guy. I think he played quite nicely down at the Puerto Rico Open. And it's just been good. He's been in the mix, man. Like the guy hasn't messed around on the PGA Tour. 18th at the Sony, like that. 13th at Mexico, 16th at the Cognizant. It's going to be a big boy event for the first time in a while, but he's $5,500. Just needs to make the cut, in my opinion, at this price tag. So let's go.
So my guy down here, and you got some options. You got Alex Smalley, great ball striker. I'm going to lean on someone who has had a rough return to the PGA Tour, but Gary Woodland sitting there at 5,400 has not played well. Probably not the best course to kind of figure out what's wrong with your game. But he's not been missing by a ton, ball striking wise at least. And again, if you remember last year, he was one of the best ball strikers on tour until he had to take his leave of absence. So yeah, Gary Woodland, worth a dart throw at 5,400.
Yeah. Didn't he have one of the best cut make streaks at the Cognizant? Which again,
something like that. Yeah.
There. I'm trying to remember stuff that I've been spewing out my mouth from 2 weeks ago, but should have probably checked in a bit more on that. Cool. I like that. If I were to do a final guy and it had to be, and I had like $5,100, I will play a guy by the name of Ryan Moore. And the form is skeptical at best. But the last time he played at TPC Sawgrass was, I believe, in 2019.
Made 4 cuts in a row here.
Yeah. Yep. So he's made 4 cuts in a row at this golf course. He's $5,000 flat. He's one of these guys that he's got no length off the tee, but at the same time, he thrives around these kind of venues. So I'll be playing him at 5K along with a bit of Steve Stricker, who I see is picking up some steam over there at $5,200. I see him at 1%. So I think he fits his course. It'll be fun to see what he can get up to. Any like completely cheap guy you got your eye on, like Joel Damon? He just pissed me off watching Netflix, man. I am like completely not in on Joel Damon right now.
No, there's just too much risk down here. I think kind of what you said. There's enough, especially you want to get into that low 8K range, low 7K range for me, where I'm going to hopefully not have to find many guys down here.
Yeah, cool. I like it. So what were our 4 guys in this range, Ron? Let's try remember a competition we actually have against each other for the first time. So I went Ben Silverman, CT Pan, Billy Horschel, and Aaron Rye and Mathieu Pavon.
Yep, I got Nick Taylor, let's see, Doug Gim, Ryan Fox, and Sam Ryder. So we'll write these down right now.
Yeah, because we've been trying to remember these things, and we keep forgetting the next time we go along. So we've got to make sure we keep a tally now. We start fresh. And I expect a $1 Venmo payment on Monday morning, please. Thank you. All right. So that's awesome. Let's have a great week here at the Players Championship. I'm taking the rest of the week off. As you can tell, I'm on vacation already. Just kind of recuperating before the Masters because we're going to go hard at the paint there. That's less than, 4 events away now, right? So it's around the corner. I can hear the music in the background. All right, folks. So thanks, Ron, for tuning in. What else you got going over on BetSperts this afternoon? Tomorrow? I guess tomorrow's the event. So, yeah.
Yeah, we got some, we have my DraftKings ownership article posted and online, Discord, tons of stuff in there. So, yeah, just keep checking in. And, again, check out the rabbit hole if you have not done so yet.
Awesome stuff, yeah. I've been really enjoying some of those screenshots because the names that show up on there are some that make tons of sense and then some are just like, Didn't think about that, but that also makes some sense. So it's been fun to see those come across my timeline quite nicely. All right, folks, it's the players. Let's have a great week. Ownership's going to be weird in some places, but don't forget to pivot your face off.